Ingrid Kitty Trimm, founder and executive director of Part USA and Part Texas. Have you ever sent emails, made phone calls, signed letters, or tried over and over again to get someone in office to listen to you, only to receive a standard "thank you for contacting us" reply that feels like really means "we got your message, now will you please go away"? Well, you're not alone. Many chronic pain patients and advocates have tried to speak up, but they were never taught how political power actually works. That is exactly what Chronic Pain Political Boot Camp was created to explain. In this Part USA and Part Texas Zoom training, James Scott Trimm, president of Part Texas, teaches how political power really works and how chronic pain patients, families, and advocates can begin using their voices more strategically. I also help guide the discussion as the group talks through what patients are facing, why so many advocacy efforts are brushed aside, and how we can fight smarter going forward. In this video, we discuss how political power actually works, why emails and phone calls often get ignored, the right way to approach lawmakers, when to call, email, or write your legislature, how to speak effectively to Republicans, and how to speak effectively to Democrats. How the chronic pain patients can use their voices strategically instead of being brushed aside. This is not just another meeting. This is information chronic pain patients, families, and advocates need in order to understand how to turn frustration into real political action. For too long, pain patients have been ignored, dismissed, or handled empty responses, while their lives are being affected by decisions made in government offices. This training is about changing that. It is about learning how to fight smarter, speak clearer, and understand where real political pressure begins. Please watch, learn, share, and use the information. If you cannot physically take these steps yourself, ask a family member, a friend, or someone you trust to help you. You can also contact your local precinct chair and ask whether they'd be willing to introduce a resolution on your behalf. This is where the people power begins. Watch, learn, ask questions, and if you need help understanding the next step, please feel free to reach out. This information can help chronic pain patients understand their power, and it can help change the future of pain care in this country, because pain is not a crime. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining us. We appreciate it.
All right. My name is James Trimm. I'm president of P.A.R.T USA, and I'm a former legislative staffer. I worked as a district director in the Texas State Legislature, and I've got about 40 years of experience as a political activist. Accomplished a whole lot in political activism. I know how to get things done. I want to thank you for being here. Tonight's not about politics as usual. Tonight is about power and how it actually works and how you can use it. As I said, I've spent over 40 years inside the political system. Uh, I worked campaigns, legislative offices, party conventions, and I'm here to tell you something very clearly. Chronic pain patients can win, but only if we organize. Pain is not a crime, but right now policy treats it like one. What we really want here is policy change, and policy change is going to require, well, it's a political issue, and it's going to require being political activists, whether one likes it or not. That's what you need to do to affect political change. Okay. The core problem is that chronic pain is not just a medical issue, it is a political issue. Millions are suffering. Kitty, I think you've got some figures on that. How many?
Yes. In the United States, so I actually had found new research, which I did forward to Bob from American Pain and Disability Foundation. Obviously, y'all know him. There is an estimated 67.3 million chronic pain patients in the United States, and over 20 million of them are severely debilitated chronic pain patients. That is from the own, uh, is it NIHIS? I'm always bad with acronyms. Anyway, CDC, that's easy to remember for me. But their own numbers actually have that out there. I have proof of that and I have documentation of that on how many pain patients there are. Okay. By the way, I think I saw somebody here so they couldn't see the file. Let me know when you're ready to open it, James, and I'll go ahead and share it on screen as well.
Okay, that'll be later. So,
Okay.
all right. Okay, so we are a large voting bloc. There's only 350 million people in the United States. So, um, and a 10% portion of the voting bloc can shift in a close election either way. In fact, it can shift a lot of elections either way, not even close ones. Um, so millions are suffering, doctors are afraid to treat them, and the result is that patients are abandoned. This didn't happen by accident. It is the result of policy decisions. Key drivers are fear-based opioid policy, the so-called opioid crisis, misapplied guidelines, regulatory overreach, and political pressure. Doctors are no longer practicing medicine freely, they're practicing medicine under political fear. So I want to share with you how power actually works politically. Most people think change starts with elections, right? That's what you were probably taught in school, get out the vote. Um, it doesn't. It starts locally. The real pipeline is the convention process, which varies from state to state. I'm going to share with you how it works in Texas. Um, and you will, I recommend that each of you contact your party headquarters for your political party for your county. Now, let me say something very clearly here. Chronic pain should be a nonpartisan issue, and we'll be talking about this some later. Okay, it should be a nonpartisan issue. I don't care in this training session if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Um, the principles of how to make things happen are the same. We'll talk about how to approach the different parties later, but uh, you need to get involved in your political party if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican. If you're part of a third party, frankly, I recommend you get involved with one of the two major parties. The reason being is that if you want to actually affect political change, you need to be involved in a party that's got the political clout to make that change. Okay. I don't have anything against Libertarians, for example, I can sympathize strongly with them on a lot of issues, but you're not going to be able to, well, you just don't have a lot of libertarian legislators out there. So you need to work within one of the two major parties. Um, the real pipeline is one of the first things you should do, by the way, is you should contact your county party and find out who your precinct chair is for your precinct. Different states may call it something different, but for the most part, I believe most of them call it a precinct chair. Now, what is a precinct chair? Well, a precinct chair is a very, it's the smallest political office. A precinct, voting precinct is usually about the size of a neighborhood, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 houses. Each party for each precinct has a precinct chair for that party. And because people don't know how things work, it's been almost intentionally concealed from them. You didn't learn any of this stuff in school. Most people don't even know about this, and oftentimes the office is vacant. There's not even a precinct chair for your party in your precinct. So if you contact your county party and they tell you either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, and they tell you that the precinct chair for your precinct is vacant, then you tell them, I would like to fill the vacancy. How can I do that? It may vary from state to state, but in Texas, for example, all you have to do is go to the next precinct meeting, which uh, happen every couple of months or whenever they're called. And the current precinct chairs have the power to vote you in and make you a precinct chair. So all you have to do is volunteer and want to do it. And typically, unless there's some extreme circumstances where they just aren't going to like you for some reason, they'll make you a precinct chair and you'll fill that office. Okay. That will make you part of the executive committee of the party in your county party executive committee. So, for example, I used to be a precinct chair, um, and I served as a precinct chair for several years. And I had this little badge that they gave me to go to precinct meetings with, or to go to to get precinct meetings, but to go to the Tarrant County Republican Party Executive Committee meetings. And um, I also would wear that when I would go lobby at the Capitol and introduce myself as a member of the Tarrant County Republican Party Executive Committee.
No, what
At
does that
least,
do?
well, that commands the respect, at least if you're talking to a Republican legislator, especially one from your area. They're going to perk up because they're going to know, oh, this person's really politically involved in my county uh, or in my district, my voting district. Okay, it'll open doors for you. It also will open doors for you to be able to help move policy in the things that we're going to talk about in the rest of this about the convention process, but also the executive committee, the county party executive committee, votes for and appoints members to the state executive committee. And so you could potentially become part of the state executive committee, and you could also become part of the they have sort of subcommittees. So your county party will have a resolutions committee, a rules committee, et cetera. You're going to want to get on that resolutions committee because then you can influence policy, at least the policy that's being called for uh, and by the party. Okay, so Your resolutions committee of your county party can pass a resolution, and we have resolutions that support chronic pain patients and the doctors that treat them in their rights. And those are available on our website, I believe. If not, we can make them available. But I think they're available
What's
somewhere.
available? I'm sorry, I was responding to something.
Our Republican and Democratic resolutions.
The Republican one is the Democrat one is not up there, but easy enough to put up. I could have up there later this evening.
Okay. So uh, that's the first stage. The second stage is that there is a convention process. So I'm going to tell you how it works in Texas, and it may differ in your state.
But
What
it's like that in a lot of states, though, that how it works in Texas.
Yeah, and they may vary a little state to state, but they're somewhat similar in most states. And the thing to do is call your county party and say, I want to get involved. How do I get involved? How do I get involved in the convention process? How do I become a delegate? Those are the questions you want to ask.
So what would they
So,
look up online? Like say, okay, well, county party. What would I search online in
so
my
let's
state?
say, let's say you live in Hazard County, Georgia. So you're going to call the Hazard County Republican Party headquarters, or the Hazard County Democratic Party headquarters. You're going to call them, look them up, uh, their phone number, and call them on the phone and tell them, I'd like to get involved in the local Democrat or Republican Party, and I want to find out about becoming a delegate or becoming a precinct chair or what I can do to get involved. Also, find out who your precinct chair is if there is one. If you can't volunteer for it, and there already is one, and contact them and say, I'd like to help you. What can I do to help? Um, make a good relationship with them, get to know them. Okay. So after the primary election in Texas, and this creates a sort of a 2 year cycle, which we're in the election year cycle right now. Okay. Um, during election years, which are um, even years, during even years, there are conventions. And the first convention, the first level convention, is the precinct convention, which is a very small area, just your voting precinct, basically your neighborhood. And after the primary election, uh, you'll be given proof that you voted in the primary election and opportunity, and you can pursue it if you can even start asking questions if they don't tell you, but or if there's not signs around. But there will be shortly thereafter, maybe even that same day after the polls close, there is a precinct meeting or precinct convention. It gets called both things, and in some areas it happens after the polls close, and in many places the rule is that the doors close and lock after the polls close, and nobody is allowed into that meeting after. So if you're late, you're out of luck. So, and this is often the case for precinct meetings, even if they're held after, a subsequent day. So within a very short few days, at least, there will be a precinct meeting. Here's the thing. That precinct represents probably 1,000 voters, maybe 1,500 voters, maybe 2,000 voters, but no small number of voters. But you're not going to believe how few people come to that precinct meeting. Typically 3, 5. I've even known them to be nobody showed up. It was just the precinct chair by themselves. Okay. Um, uh, it would be startling if 10 people showed up. Okay. So those people that do show up, if all they have to do is choose to show up, have enormous power because they represent the entire 1,000, 1,500 people voting block, all in their hands. And they do two things at that precinct meeting. They choose delegates to go up to the next level, which is the senatorial district convention or the county convention, depending on your area, how they do it in your area. And so all you have to do is say, I'd like to be a delegate to the county convention or the senatorial district convention. And all you have to do is volunteer. In fact, they'll ask you, do you want to? They'll pass a piece of paper around at some of these to sign, just to sign up. And they'll vote on whether you can or cannot. But unless the neighborhood hates you and shows up to stop you, morally, you've got to. It's almost. I've only once heard of, way back in 1988, a situation where people were blocked from advancing to the next level up and being a delegate to the senatorial district convention if they wanted to. You just have to want to. And that meeting, so the meeting we're talking about right now, just happens in the evening and it lasts about an hour. Okay. But the next meeting we're talking about, the senatorial district convention, well, let me back up. The other thing that happens at that precinct meeting is you can introduce a resolution. You can actually introduce several resolutions if you want to. And again, the people that are there will vote on that resolution and whether to advance it to the next level up, the senatorial district convention or the county convention.
What's the resolution?
I'm sorry? What's a resolution? What's a resolution? Resolution is a statement that tells the party what you think is an important issue and what the party's stand should be about that issue. And those resolutions are ultimately used to develop the party platform. Okay. So we went to the precinct meeting, my wife and I, and others in Texas went to their precinct meetings and introduced the resolution that we have written. And we got it advanced to the senatorial district level in 3 different precincts. And then what happens at the senatorial district level? The senatorial district convention is an all-day affair.
If you give me just a minute, I will show you what a resolution looks like. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. This is the resolution that me and my husband, and then 2 of our board members for P.A.R.T. Texas submitted at the regular precinct meeting, your neighborhood precinct meeting, basically. This is what we originally submitted. Ours actually went through as is. Our other board members, some of it was cut a little, but had still a lot of the same language in it, or some of it was added to a little bit. But they all basically kept the same thing in. And this one here is like the Republican Party has long championed limited government, individual liberty, personal responsibility, respect for the doctor-patient relationship. Medical freedom is fundamental component, personal liberty, ensuring Texans can make healthcare decisions in consultation with their physicians without necessary. And it goes on there. But it goes down towards the end here where it says, be it further resolved that we support policies ensuring federal guidelines remain advisory rather than de facto law within Texas. And be it further resolved that we support legislative protections for chronic pain patients seeking lawful treatment, for healthcare providers acting in good faith according to sound medical judgment. And be it finally resolved that the Republican Party calls upon Texas lawmakers to safeguard medical freedom and protect the doctor-patient relationship from unnecessary regulatory intrusion while promoting responsible, ethical medical care consistent with the principles of liberty and accountability. Now, again, we also had one for the Democratic side. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody show up to do so. we're planning to, at the end of June, to go to the Democratic State Convention because you can actually introduce a resolution on the floor. And if somebody seconds it, they're able to have a discussion about it and possibly vote it through. So we're going to attempt to hopefully find delegates at the state convention that will be willing to maybe take a Democratic statement in for chronic pain patients at that time. But this is what a resolution is. And you don't have to know how to do it. If you don't, feel free to call on us. We'll be more than willing to write something up for you and we can upload it. I eventually hope to have this stuff uploaded to Part USA where this will be available to anybody to download to be able to put into their state.
You just have to revise it because ours says Texas, but you can
Correct.
it refers to the Texas Republican Party. Okay. And you can, or the Texas Democratic Party. Okay. So that's what a resolution is. So you can pass that resolution and it forwards to the senatorial district level. So then you have the senatorial district or county conventions. A lot of rural areas will have a county convention instead of senatorial district conventions, but it's the same thing. It's a next level up. At that next level up, there's a resolutions committee that meets. They'll meet in advance of just a few days before the convention itself. If you're a delegate, you'll be advised of the fact that the resolutions committee is meeting at such and such dates, and you'll have an opportunity to bring a resolution to the resolutions committee. And they will already have resolutions that are passed up to them from the precincts. But even if they don't, you can still bring one to the resolutions committee and they will consider it. And what they'll do is you have all these whereas, and it's down at the bottom, it's there, it's be it resolved that. And it's that be it resolved part that they're going to extract and put in the platform of their proposed platform. If you get the committee to approve it, to adopt it. So at the convention, the committee will present their proposed platform, and it'll have all the different planks that they propose. And it may have resolutions too. That's separate from that. And that all that will be put for a vote of the whole body. Now, that meeting is an all-day meeting because there's a lot of other things that happen there. And towards the end of the day, the platform is one of the big things that happens. The other thing that they do there is they choose delegates to advance to the state convention. And oftentimes, if you are there and you want to be a delegate to the state convention, all you have to do is go before the nominations committee and ask them to make you a delegate, request to be a delegate, and to the state convention. Now, the state, they won't pay for it. So you'll have to travel to the state convention at wherever it's being held. It may be different places, different times, like they'll
In your
have it
state.
in your state. So they'll have it like in Texas, they'll have it in San Antonio one year and Fort Worth another year and
This year it's in
Houston
Houston.
another year. This year it's in Houston. Um, Okay, at least for the Republican Party, the Democratic one's in Corpus Christi this year.
That's right.
Okay, so now that's a 3-day affair, and you have to travel and pay for your own hotel and everything. But if you can do that, you want to volunteer to do that, to be a delegate to that too. And if your resolution is adopted and it passes on the floor, then it'll advance to state. If it doesn't get adopted by the committee, don't panic. There's a workaround, especially if there's two of you there. So it's helpful if like you got a husband and wife. It's helpful if you have like a husband and wife
Or in our case, we
situation.
have two board members that are going to the Republican one for us.
Well, that's at the state level. I'm talking about
Right.
at the district level.
Oh, okay.
Um, at the district level, you go you, when the resolutions committee presents their platform, their recommended platform, you can go to the mic and you can say, I move to amend the platform and have multiple copies ready because they'll have a rule that you have to have 3 copies or 5 copies or whatever, and have an amendment. And the amendment is our platform plank item for chronic pain. And somebody else then would have to second it. So hopefully you've got somebody else there that will second it. And then it opens up for discussion and hopefully a vote. I say hopefully because there can be some different things that happen where it gets tabled and never gets voted on, but hopefully you get a vote. And I have successfully on a different issue done just that. I had a resolution. I took it to the resolutions committee. They didn't do me any favors. They didn't put it in the platform. And when the platform was brought to the to the whole body, I went over to the mic. I had a friend there that I knew. I said, "Hey, if I do this, will you second it?" He said, "Yeah, I'll second it." So I made the motion. It seconded, and it passed the floor resoundingly. It was very popular, in fact, um, and uh, and it made it eventually into the state platform and a state plank. So it can be done. Don't panic if it comes to that. Um, okay, so the next level up is the state convention, and at the state convention, the resolutions there'll be the platform committee there, and the platform committee will have all these resolutions and planks and platforms that came up to them from the lower level conventions, and they'll be considering all of these items and whether to include them or not include them. They're crafting the platform for the state party. Now, the state party for the Republican Party and the Democratic Party is independent for each state, is an independent entity and independent from the national party. Okay. So each state has its Republican Party platform. There's the Texas Republican Party platform and the Texas Democratic Party platform, which is what the Republican Party platform of Texas stands for. What the Tarrant County, I'm sorry, what Texas Republican Party stands for, or what the Texas Democratic Party stands for. So that when candidates are running for office, that's the platform they're running on. In fact, in the Republican Party, I don't know what the Democratic Party does, but in the Republican Party, when they file to run, they actually have to say that they agree with the platform, or if they don't, I think there's a thing where they have to explain why they do, what they don't agree with. But everybody that's running for statewide office in your state at that point, so if you can get chronic pain into your platform, candidates that are running for office are running on that platform.
One of the nice things too is, at least in the state of Texas, is we have people who are running for offices. They actually take the opportunity to show up to these conventions to talk a little about their campaign and try to get you to vote for them. This is an excellent opportunity to go over to them. We did this twice over while we were at the district convention and talked to our state representative that's hopefully going to be elected. He has a good chance of doing so. And then also our congresswoman for our Senate side for the state. And we found out that,
State senator.
thank you, the state senator. The state senator, like that, we found out, and in talking with her, because she happened to be there campaigning, found that she's a chronic pain patient. Had no
Yes.
clue. She had no idea that she knew there were problems in Texas, and she's experienced them herself. She's had family members and friends experience it, and she was very happy to hear that our organization existed and took information. And we have a meeting with her in a few months to go ahead and go over this and try to make this law in Texas. So those are also excellent opportunities to talk to candidates that are running because they actually show up there just to talk a little bit about their campaign. Usually have about a minute or two in front of delegates to do so.
And they want to mix with the delegates because the delegates are the people that care, that also are informed and new to show up. And they're politically important people. But how did they become politically important people? They just decided to get involved. They actually showed up to that precinct meeting, one out of you know, hundreds that actually shows up to that precinct meeting and said there at that precinct level, I want to be a delegate. And then when they got the senatorial district convention, they said, I want to be a delegate to the state convention. And then though that state convention with all the, which in Texas is like held in a stadium, it's huge. Um, uh, those delegates, you hear about in the news, how did they become delegates? They showed up and they asked to be. It's that simple.
Yeah,
And
there's
that's what
usually
chronic pain.
more. Yeah, I was gonna say there's usually more delegates seats available than there are people filling them.
Yeah, people that show, there are more, typically more seats available to be filled than delegates that show up and or people that show up and ask to be delegates. If you want to be a delegate, you probably can. And we need more and more chronic pain patient advocates showing up and being delegates. Um,
This is shaping your party's priorities. What's an important issue for the Republican Party and for the Democratic Party. So when they go running on their campaigns, this is what they know, this is what voters want. Okay, so they run on these issues. Why this is so important. This is why this is where your power is, because all you are doing is submitting a resolution down at your precinct home level, and if it gets all the way up to state and gets passed, well, all of a sudden now that's an issue for the Republican or Democratic Party when it wasn't beforehand.
and that then, I told you it's a 2 year cycle in Texas. Some state legislators meet every 2 years, some like Texas. Some of them meet every year. Those that meet every year, some of them have a longer meeting in odd years and a shorter term in even years. But when that legislative session comes, the other thing, by the way, you can be doing during that election year is asking candidates to sign a pledge to support your issue. Um, so these are things to do during the election year. During the legislative session year, which are odd years, that's where you go to try introduce legislation and try and get legislators to file bills. Okay. And it's really helpful to be able to go to those legislators and say, this bill is actually part of the party platform. Your party wants you to do this. It's plank number whatever. Okay. And also, if their senatorial district or county passed the resolution, you can also go to them and say, even if it doesn't get in the state version, you can go to them and say, your county or your senatorial district asked you to do this. Um, and of course, even if it does pass the state, either way, you can go to them and say your senatorial district asked for it, or
You wind
your,
up having more clout knowing that
yeah.
they know that this was passed by people who are really politically involved and either have, power of influence with other voters. They control their precinct area because they're either a precinct chair or they showed up to be involved in their precinct. So it becomes a very powerful position when you go to talk to your lawmaker versus like right now, as you all probably know, you've tried to send, letters or, called people. Well, chronic pain is not an issue on a lot of platforms right now throughout the United States. So they don't care. It's not an issue. It's not an issue to them. So they don't bother
And,
doing anything.
and if you can become a precinct chair, in addition to that, and you show up maybe wearing one of these, that will also have help your impact. A lot of the problem with chronic pain community up till now is that they show up at the legislation and at the legislative cycle. And what they really, without realizing what they're doing, is they're showing up at the end of the race, at the finish line, and expected to be treated like a winner when they didn't run the race. And there's a race that you run first. And then once you've run that race, then the legislators will pay a lot more attention to you because you didn't just drive up to the finish line. You were one of the runners and you ran the race and you got to the finish line. So you're not asking them to just, suddenly out of the blue do something. You're asking them to do something that their voters in their respective party asked them to do.
Basically, everyday people.
Exactly. So don't underestimate the power of becoming a precinct chair if the office is open in your precinct. Okay.
And if you can't do it yourself, see if there's a friend, family member, somebody who's willing to champion that cause for you, to get it in. Because, like I said, this is a part that you're able to put in basically a statement, a resolution, and to shape your party's political future for that year or every 2 years, whatever your state runs on. And lawmakers don't have a say in that matter. People do.
Okay. So we'll move on to more or less, I think, the second half of things I'm going to talk about here. We're going to talk about now how to frame the issue. So first, and we're just going to cover Republicans first because in Texas, where we are, Republicans control the. It's a red state. Republicans control every statewide office and have for 30 years, over 30 years, and Republicans control the legislature. So, but this is a nonpartisan issue, and this is an issue where they can reach across the aisle and work together. And legislators look for issues that they can work with the other side on and reach across the aisle on. Not exclusively, but they look for those occasional issues. Oh, well, this is a great issue where I could reach across the aisle and work with the other side. Okay, so how do we frame this to Republicans? And because it's the same issue, but different language for each party, different modes of thought. And so the core values that we want to address with the Republican Party for the chronic pain issue is limited government, individual liberty, personal responsibility, doctor-patient relationship, and informed consent. Those are key ideas in the Republican Party. And medical freedom is a catchphrase that you will want to use when talking to Republicans. There is, again, I'm going to tell you things that are facts. It is this, we have to be prepared. I'm prepared and I'm doing it. I'm doing it today in the other part as I continue forward in this instruction, if you will, to put aside our differences on other subjects and focus on how we're going to sell our message to each party. And Republicans, they have a memory of COVID and forced vaccinations or required vaccinations and medical freedom and vaccine choice issues. Okay. In fact, Texans for Vaccine Choice is a huge medical freedom organization in the state of Texas. Very, very powerful. Um, and the head of Texans for Vaccine Choice is a personal friend of mine that I've worked in politics with for years, and was actually instrumental in helping us get the resolution done in our senatorial
District.
district convention. Yeah. Um, okay. So uh, uh, think uh, the idea of the other things that masks. They wanted the Republican side tended to want freedom not to have to wear a mask. They didn't want to, and they and some states like Texas have made ivermectin available over the counter, so that they wanted freedom and access to be able to decide for themselves if they wanted to try taking ivermectin or not. That mentality is the mentality we want to tap into to say, you know what? That's let's have medical freedom for chronic pain patients and their right to informed consent, which is a key phrase that they will use for vaccine choice, informed consent to decide that they want to take opioids. They want, they'll take the risk if there's a risk. Okay. All right. So here's the teaching pattern when you're going to speak to your legislator. And this, you don't have to go to the Capitol to do this, but it's great if you do. And I'm talking about on the state level here, but also DC. Of course, some of us are going to DC next month. But uh, you can go to your state capitol for your state. You can also reach out to your legislators in your local area, and speak to them. Now, speak to them. I don't mean mail. I don't mean write them a letter. I don't mean call their office and talk to whoever answered the phone. Because I'll tell you what, I answered the phone. That was
Answered
my job.
emails.
Answered the email. I didn't answer the phone actually. There was somebody else that did that. But my
Okay.
my first job when I got up in the morning was to get on my laptop and log into the system and answer all the emails and clear the email box from the last 24 hours. And it was my job to keep the email box empty. And that meant writing emails. Many of them were the same issues over and over again. I'd be cutting and pasting uh, the same message, you know, thank you for reaching out to us about this important issue. I will be forwarding your concerns to Representative Smith, you know, and send, and that'd be the end of it. Unless we were being lambasted with, hundreds of emails on a certain issue, that would never reach the legislator. It never went past the guy whose job it was to log in and answer all those pesky emails. And the same thing happened with phone calls. I wasn't low level, by the way, but there was a very low level person that answered the phone and did the same thing with phone calls. I wasn't low level, but that was just my, first thing in the morning, get that out of the way, and then deal with legislation and such. Um, Okay, so when you want to talk to there are times, by the way, there are times, key times, and we'll be sending out messages, and other organizations may be sending out messages. Well, I say that there are some organizations that are constantly sending out messages to reach out to your legislator or whatever.
Well,
That's a
in
waste
our
of time.
yes, because in our case, we just set up two 800 numbers, one for Part Texas and one Part USA, and this is an opt-in, so you won't be contacted by us unless you want to be contacted by us. But this is when you write letters, this is when you email, and this is when you phone call. Is when things are up for a vote
Or they're
or
before a committee.
Therefore, the committee, that's the time you inundate their office. This is when you say, I want you to vote for this. I want you to support this. Or I don't want you to support this. I don't want you to do this. That is the time you call, you email, you show up, phone call. That's the time. The individual emails, letters, and phone calls do nothing. They are literally a file that they check off and push you aside and hoping that you don't contact them again. And if you
Now,
do, maybe they'll just push you aside again. But that is not the time to do it. And that's what we'll be doing. I will have something up on website where you can sign up for these and you'll get alerts letting you know, okay, this bill in this state is going forward for chronic pain patients or is going against chronic pain patients. This is time to contact this office. And then you'll know to go ahead and call and do so.
if there's a bill in Tennessee and you're in Texas, don't call Tennessee. They don't want to hear from you. In fact,
Right.
they resent somebody from Texas trying to tell them what to do in Tennessee. Okay. I can
But
tell
if
you
it's
in
the United
Texas,
States, that's a little different.
if it's a federal bill, that's different. But if there's a bill, going to the House in Tennessee, there may be things you can do to help, but calling legislators isn't in that ballpark. Um, okay. We're not going to go in today about how a bill becomes law. We may do a Zoom meeting in the future on how a bill becomes law. Um, and there's more involved than what you ever thought. It's complex, but those will be the times, and we'll put out alert to let you know. Okay. Um, so when you talk to them, though, the other thing you can do, especially when a bill is on the line, there's a bill that's been filed, and hopefully maybe even gotten a positive report out of the committee and is going to go to the floor. And you go to your state legislature and your state capital, and you just go door to door to start talking to your state representatives. And that is something you want to do if you can do it. I realize some of you are not, maybe not be capable of acting on that physical level, but if you can, well, you go door to door, you talk to them, and you uh, try and make an appointment to speak to your legislator. Um, okay, so um,
You want to go ahead and get to the
start.
Republican one because it's 8:55, just to let you know.
Sure, sure. Okay, so start with shared values, frame it as freedom, show government overreach, and show consequences of the overreach, and offer limited government solutions. Okay, the key teaching line is you can't have personal responsibility without informed consent, and you cannot have informed consent if government limits your options. I have a 30-second script for you here. This isn't about drugs. This is about freedom. Government has turned advisory guidelines into de facto law, interfering in the doctor-patient relationship and undermining informed consent. Chronic pain patients are being denied care, and physicians are being driven out of treating them, not by medicine, but by regulation. We need to restore medical freedom and get government out of the exam room. So that's what you say to the Republicans. Okay. Um,
I'll
so,
have this information up online too after this meeting here. So if you need a reference back up on it, you can.
okay. Are you wanting me to skip the?
Yeah, I would just move on to the Democrat one.
Okay. Um, so speaking to Democrats, same issue, different language. Here are the core values you want to talk about: compassion, human dignity, health equity, patient rights, evidence-based care. Now, when I say patient rights and health equity, for example, you can bring up endometriosis. Only women are going to be dealing with that. So, you can show that women are being disenfranchised. You can talk about sickle cell anemia. and how African Americans are being disenfranchised, and how statistics show that African Americans are less likely to get treated for pain when they go to the hospital. Okay. Um, you start with human impact, you identify vulnerable population, like I just mentioned, you highlight inequality, you show systematic failure, you frame it as a rights issue, a medical rights issue, and you offer evidence-based solutions. One of the things about opioids is we've been using them for thousands of years. And guess what? We've been using them for thousands of years because they work. Okay. 30-second script for Democrats. Chronic pain patients are a medically vulnerable population being denied compassionate, evidence-based care. Policies driven by fear and stigma have led to forced tapers and patient abandonment, especially in marginalized community. Access to pain care is a matter of human dignity and health equality. We need policies guided by medical science to ensure no one suffers needlessly. Now, if I want to backtrack here, if a Republican throws you a curveball, you say it's not the purpose of government to prevent any bad thing from ever happening. If we sacrifice freedom for security, we'll end up with neither one. Um, do we have time to talk about Democrat curveballs, or are we?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So, objection that you may face. What about addiction? With the Republicans, I would say, again, it's not the role of government to prevent any bad thing from ever happening. You say that's this is a very real concern, and no one wants to see, this is talking to Democrats, no one wants to see people harmed. The problem is that policies meant to address addiction are being applied to chronic pain patients who are medically distinct population. They're not addicts. They just want help. As a result, people are being forced off stable treatment, abandoned by providers, and pushed into crisis. We need targeted evidence-based approaches that address addiction without harming patients who depend on legitimate care.
Yeah, don't go in and deny that, there's not addiction problems. There is, but it doesn't mean that it's chronic pain patients.
Exactly. It's like depriving somebody of water because somebody else drowned. Okay. We need stricter controls. That's the objection two. Safety is, here's your response. Safety is important, but current policies are creating a different kind of harm. Untreated pain, declining mental health, and loss of care. True safety means true safety means individualized evidence-based treatment, not one size fits all restrictions. They say doctors overprescribed. Say there were problems in the past, but the response has gone too far in the opposite direction. Now, stable patients are being denied care, and physicians are afraid to treat patients appropriately. We need balance based on current medical science. If they say follow the guidelines, you want to do this one, Kitty?
Yeah, guidelines are meant to guide, not replace clinical judgment. When applied rigidly, they cause real harm. Policy should support medical decisions making, not override it. Well, we did follow policy and guidelines, but in 2022, the CDC updated those guidelines and they haven't been followed since. They're still following the 2016 guidelines. So it's important to remind them that, well, we want to follow the guidelines, but they haven't updated them. They're stuck back on 2016.
Okay. Protect vulnerable communities. That's exactly why this matters. Current policies are disproportionately harming vulnerable populations, including low income patients, women, veterans, and the disabled. And African Americans, especially if you're an African American, use that sickle cell anemia thing. If you're a woman, use endometriosis, etc. Okay. The strategic insight: Republicans respond to liberty, Democrats respond to fairness, but both are responding to the same problem. So, um, talk about practical first steps. Here's what you do next: look up your county party, contact them, ask about precinct chairs. Who's my precinct chair? Is there a precinct chair for my precinct? Either become the precinct chair or make contact with your precinct chair. Attend meetings and find out when meetings are and when you can attend them. Volunteer for campaigns. Ask about the convention process. Ask about becoming a delegate. Prepare for conventions. We are building a movement. Okay. All the 501c3s have been doing their function of educating, but talking about the problem can only go so far. That's why we created Part Texas and Part USA to be 501c4 organizations that are legally allowed to get involved in the political fight, the political effort. Uh, one person, one voice. One person is a voice. 10 people is a meeting. 100 people is a movement.
And also, what somebody just said here about also fentanyl is a problem. Make sure you specify illicit fentanyl. That is the problem, not fentanyl itself. Fentanyl prescribed inside hospitals or by doctors is not a problem. It is illicit fentanyl that's being brought in by cartels.
So if we wrap up this seminar, if you will, tonight, this material, and you do nothing, nothing changes. But if you take even one step, you become part of the solution, part of the solution. One of the reasons we called it part. We are not powerless. We have simply not been organized. That changes now. Pain is not a crime. We're going to make sure that the system reflects that. Are you too sick to help? There are roles that you can do from home. Maybe you can make phone calls for candidates that we want to find candidates that will support us and volunteer to help those candidates by making phone calls. Or you can help make phone calls when we have bills actually coming to the fore. Um,
Sending out
Politics,
messages and letting people know that online as well. Hey, this bill's coming up for a vote. We need to either sponsor it or not sponsor it. So there are things you can do at home if you cannot get out and physically do things.
a lot of people are disgusted with politics. I am, and I worked in it. Okay. I really would like to be able to get away from it. Okay. But the reality is that if you don't take an interest in politics, politics takes an interest in you.
Like it or
And
not.
like it or not, and politics is already affecting your care. This is self defense. You've got to get involved. Will this work? It's already working. We've passed in Texas 3 senatorial district conventions
In the state of
passed
Texas.
in the state of Texas, passed chronic pain uh, rights resolutions. And in just 3 weeks, uh, just about a month from now, actually, in just about a month, the Republican Party, Texas Republican Party, will be considering putting this in their platform. And Part Texas only started what, 6 months ago, 7 months ago,
No, we just turned 9 months old.
9 months. Okay, 9 months, long enough to have a baby. Okay, so here we are. It works. and it has worked. I've seen it work on other issues. I would name some of those issues, but I'm not trying to. If I did, uh, some of you might, have knee-jerk reactions as far as the political issue. But I know political issues in Texas that we used this system and got things changed. It works. It's worked on other issues, and it will work. If
And
you're
again, if
ready,
you go ahead,
go ahead.
sorry. I was going to say, and if you can't do it, that's when you ask online who can, friends, family, your local community, if you're not able to do it, it's not that. Find somebody who is politically involved at the precinct level, saying, hey, I would like to, get this resolution, and do you agree with this? And if you do, can you submit it for me? Can you run on it? So if you really can't do it yourself, it doesn't mean you can't write something up and then contact a local precinct chair or a delegate in the area and ask them to run it for you. So there are ways that you can do it if you're not physically able to.
If you're ready to take action, connect with us. We're building teams in every state, and we need you. We have Part New York coming soon, Part Pennsylvania coming up, uh, state chapters. Plus, we just have the work of Part USA as well. Um, we're not asking government to do more. We're asking it to stop doing what it was never meant to do. The old phrase, government can't solve this problem because government is the problem, and restore the freedom and dignity that have been taken away. Power has always belonged to the people. Now is the time we take it back.
So I apologize, this ran a
Yeah.
little over that we wanted to. Does anybody have any questions? Like I said, I will put this full uh what
We
he
have
was
a
talking
field
from
guide.
up. Yeah,
Well, we have a field guide to help you, and we'll put that PDF to that field guide up that's extracts from this material, basically, for you.
correct. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@partexas.com or info@partusa.org. Um, and we'd be willing to help you, write any scripts that we need, or that you need, excuse me, for your state. If you have any questions, feel free. But this is how we get things done and how we win. It's already proving to be working in Texas. So is there any questions? Yes, the email address again is info at either parttexas.com or info@partusa.org. And the phone number for Part Texas, not Part Texas, excuse me, Part USA, because I have to get Part Texas set up first. But Part USA phone number is up and available. That number is 833-401 PART, which is 833-401-7278. And you can leave a voicemail if we're not able to answer your call, and we'll get back to you. So we really appreciate you showing up. And like I said, I'll be uploading this video, but spread this message around. When this video gets up, spread it around. Like I said, if you can't do it personally, find a friend, find a colleague, find a neighbor, contact the precinct chair. There are people who are willing to do this. You will be surprised how many people don't know about this and are shocked this is happening in America. One of the things I've actually recently brought out to a lot of people that in Sarasota, Florida, they have ambulatory services now. The ambulance basically are all Tylenol only ambulance. Doesn't matter if they run up on a burn victim, a car accident victim, broken legs, you're only getting Tylenol in Sarasota, Florida.
They got to cut your leg off to get you out of the car. Here's some Tylenol.
And if they don't believe you, tell them go look it up. It's online. That's where we're headed if we don't stop this. So again, we really appreciate you being here. Yeah, Yeah, and that's that. Nobody should have to go through a cardiac procedure and get Tylenol only. That's
Yes.
not okay. It isn't. I don't know whoever came up with, we need to suffer through pain. I don't know. Um, they must have never gone through pain. They need to be experiencing it. Because I don't understand that. I will never understand that mentality. So, is there any other questions or comments? Of course. Glad that y'all showed up and thank you for being here. We really appreciate you very much. Alrighty, like I said, I will get this video uploaded this evening, and the paperwork will either be up tonight or tomorrow, depending if my website wants to cooperate with me. I was arguing with it all day on Part USA, trying to get content up there. Sometimes these computers don't like to play nice, but the video will be up today on YouTube after a little while. I'll post it around and let everybody know it's up. Thank you again for joining us. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a contact or a call. You all have a
Somebody,
wonderful evening. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
somebody just asked where it's going to be up.
Oh, so the video is going to be going up on YouTube. It will be available on I think it's Part USA official. But I will post links around. And you also can go to it will be also available on parttexas.com and also partusa.org. But I will post links around, but it will be up on YouTube. Alrighty, any other questions? No, let's see. Let me put that in the chat real quick, the YouTube link for that. Like I said, it's not there yet, but obviously because it has to do its thing. That's part Texas. I want USA. There it is. Yep. View the channel. Thank you. So there is another Part USA. We're Part USA official because somebody else actually had Part USA, even though it's not even being used. Where is my Zoom? Okay, there you go. Paste. There is the YouTube channel for a Part USA where the video will be sent at. You're more than welcome, and thank you again for joining us. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining.